Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo Switch is a killer hit and it is selling like hotcakes right now. But there's a problem. All you have is either a Pro Controller, meh, which isn't bad, don't beat up on it, or you got Handheld Mode, which is okay, it's not terrible. But what if I told you you could have a wired GameCube controller that just works with the Switch? Honestly, I am very happy to inform you that PDP has actually released one. Let's talk about this bad boy, and first off, let's talk about the length of the cord. Look at this, it's all wound up. It is so long. Ridiculous. This is like a 5-foot cord, honestly. Maybe 6 foot. It is ridiculous. This controller is so awesome and so cool, and honestly, I could not help but fall in love with this thing. This thing works with your Switch very well, but also, if you notice, it looks very, very close to that of your GameCube controller, which it is modeled after. Everything is in the right order, except you'll see the start button is no longer right in the middle. You've got a bunch of other buttons. You've got your plus, minus, your capture, and your home button right there in the middle. And that thing looks pretty sweet. And honestly, this thing is something that I sat down and I was thinking, okay, maybe this will be cool. This is really awesome. Honestly, this is probably the way to go. I wish this was wireless. If this was wireless, it'd be way better. This is the wired version, but that's okay. I am not complaining at all. The C-stick feels great, and also the cool thing about this is you can pop off the little caps, and it comes with 2 caps that look like the thumbstick and one that look like the C-stick. So you can pop that bad boy off if you don't want it, and pop on the smaller one or the bigger one, and then you are good to go, and it feels like a normal controller. However, I prefer it when with the C-pad because it reminds me of that GameCube controller, which is very awesome. This thing feels very great in your hands. It is just the right weight. It doesn't feel cheap and lighter like most third-party controllers do. Honestly, this feels about the same weight as a GameCube controller. Honestly, I did not expect that. I also looked on the back and I noticed the ZL and the ZR buttons. They feel a little bit different than what you would expect from a GameCube controller, but if you are used to using a Pro controller, it gives you that same amount of travel for the trigger pulls. But honestly, this is a really, really good setup. The D-pad is a little bit smaller on this than the original GameCube controller, and to be quite honest with you, when I started to review this, I was thinking, GameCube controller is for the GameCube. Set everything up, set up the GameCube, brought up some games, and then I was like, what was I thinking? I know this is a Switch controller, but I was so busy getting it all set up, I was like, I'm bringing both in. I'm bringing my Switch, and I'll leave the GameCube up because it looks pretty cool on there next to it. But, however, I would like to say that the L and the R buttons are a little small. However, they're very reminiscent of the Pro controller, so I can't fault it that bad. But it was something that was a little bit different because it was so thin. However, I love this thing. I had so much fun playing Splatoon with this. Actually, it's pretty comfortable. If you get used to the C-pad, the C-stick really does help with playing that game. You can be a little bit more accurate because it is a smaller controller tip, but that is cool. This does have some downsides though. It is basically a fighter, and like you'll see, I'll be playing Smash in this, but what you'll see is also the A button is rather large, like the GameCube controller. The B button is a little bit smaller, but then you got the X and the Y, which are kind of up above the A button. And honestly, this configuration is great for fighters, where you're going to be mashing that A and the B button. But honestly, for some other games, you might run into problems. I didn't really have too much of a problem with it, but then again, I could see people having problems with it. Also, kind of the same thing with the D-pad. It is rather small, and you do have the potential of pressing both up and to the right or up into the left or down into the left and down into the right. Something like that. It does let you press multiple positions, so that's something I would be careful of, but at the same time, that's the same way the GameCube controller is, so I wouldn't expect anything less. Honestly, this is a really solid controller, and I love it. Now, the only downside that's really a downside is you have to really either use this in docked mode, or you have to have an adapter that will go from USB to USB-C, which is kind of a bummer. I know we see a lot of this, and I understand why, because when you plug it into the side of the Switch dock, you have to have that USB, but I would like to see some USB-C slots. Maybe we'll see that in the future on future docks, but for right now, we're just stuck with USB, so I understand why it's that way. However, I wish that it was a little bit different. Now, when I talk about this controller, I have not mentioned that it is Mario themed, and honestly, that is pretty cool. It reminds me when Nintendo did their Mario theme GameCube controller. It reminiscently looks like that, so that was very well done. It's just a straight top half is red and the bottom half is black, and then you have that big Mario M with the circle around it that is white. It definitely looks really cool. So if you're interested in a third-party controller that is a GameCube controller and you're a Smash fan, definitely go up and buy this. This thing is rad. I would definitely suggest it, and I will play it more and more going forward. With this, I'll play my friends and they'll probably be pissed, but we're not going to tell them I'm using a GameCube controller unless they find out. Then they'll know, so whatever about that. But like I said, this is a cool controller, and I definitely recommend it because it has everything you would expect in a GameCube controller, and honestly everything you would expect from a Switch controller, minus like the motion controls and the vibrations and stuff like that. So don't worry about that. If you're looking for a great game pad that's going to be good for fighter games, this is definitely one I would check out. So with that being said, if you like this video, please comment down below. Let me know, are you interested in GameCube controllers? Would you like to see more GameCube controllers reviewed on this list? Because I have 2 or 3 on the shelf over there that are third party that I might review. I just haven't decided yet. But this one worked for the Switch, and so I was very happy about that. One thing I think would have been really cool is if they would have made this with an adapter. That way it would have plugged into both of the GameCube and the Switch, but we didn't get that, but I kind of understand why, so not to worry there, but just something I could see it being a little bit nitpicky about. With that being said, comment down below, let me know what you think about this controller and what you think about the new way that videos are going around here with the different shots and all that. I've been working really hard and I've been enjoying it, so let me know if you like those down below. With that being said, if you want to get into contact with me other than on YouTube, I've got a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check those out if you're interested. If you want to buy anything, there are 2 shirts and a Patreon down below in the links. You got Big Cartel and Amazon for those shirts. Check those out if you're interested as well. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this far into the video. I know it's hard sometimes finding time, but you watched it this far, so good job. But since you're here, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell notification because it lets you know when I post videos. With that being said, for the final time, make sure you have a good day.